Everyone's telling you to buy a house. Your parents, your realtor, that guy on YouTube with the fake Rolex. But here's what nobody's telling you. In 2026, buying could be the worst financial decision you make this year. Or it could be the smartest. And the answer depends on one number most people never even calculate. Hey, I'm going to break down rent was buy in 2026, no fluff, no bias, just the real math. Because this isn't about what feels right. It's about what makes sense for your money. Mortgage rates, home prices, rent inflation, they've all shifted, and the old rules just don't apply anymore. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which side of the fence you should be on. Let's get into it. Look, whether you rent or buy, the goal is the same. Keep more money in your pocket and make it grow. I break down decisions like this every single week, no fluff. Just the numbers that actually matter to your wallet. So, if you want to stay ahead of the next big money decision before you make it, hit subscribe. Because the smartest financial move you'll make today might just be staying informed. Let's talk about the biggest lie in real estate. And I mean the biggest one. It's this idea that if you can afford the mortgage payment, you can afford the house. That's not true. That's not even close to true. And this one misunderstanding is what wrecks people financially 2-3 years after they move in. Here's what actually happens. Say you find a place and the mortgage comes out to $2,000 a month. You do the math, you compare it to your rent, and you think, great, I'm saving money, let's buy. But that $2,000, that's just the beginning of the story, not the whole story. First, there's property tax. Depending on where you live, this could be another $200, $500, even $800 a month, folded into your payment or billed separately. A lot of first-time buyers don't even realize this is coming until they see their first tax bill and just about fall out of their chair. Then there's homeowner's insurance. Renter's insurance might cost you $15 a month. Homeowner's insurance, that's a completely different animal. You're now insuring the entire structure, and in certain states, that number has been climbing fast. We're talking potentially $100 to $200 a month, sometimes more if you're in a high-risk area for storms or fires. And now here's the one that really gets people: maintenance and repairs. When you're renting and the water heater dies, you call your landlord and it's not your problem. When you own the home, that water heater dying is now a $1,500 bill with your name on it. Roof needs replacing. That could be $10,000 to $20,000. HVAC system goes out. Another 5 figures easy. The general rule financial planners use is this: budget 1 to 2% of your home's value every single year just for maintenance. So on a $300,000 home, that's $3,000 to $6,000 a year, just sitting there waiting for something to break. That's real money, and most people never plan for it. And don't forget closing costs when you first buy. Typically 2 to 5% of the purchase price, gone before you even get the keys. So here's the practical takeaway. Before you compare buying to renting, don't just look at the mortgage quote. Add up the full picture. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, and a maintenance cushion, and then compare that number to your rent. Because a lot of people think they're saving $500 a month by buying, when in reality, once everything is factored in, they're barely breaking even, or worse, losing ground every single month. This is the number one reason people feel financially blindsided after buying a home. Not because they made a bad decision, but because they were only shown half the equation. Okay, now let's tackle a phrase that has probably been drilled into your head since you were a kid. Renting is throwing money away. You've heard it from your parents, your uncle at Thanksgiving, maybe even that one coworker who won't stop talking about their new backyard. And I get why people believe it, but it's actually one of the most financially misleading sentences in personal finance. Here's the thing. When you rent, you're not throwing money away. You're purchasing something real. You're purchasing flexibility, stability, and a roof over your head without the risk that comes with owning. That's not nothing. That's a product, just like anything else you pay for. Let me give you an example. Let's say renting an apartment costs you $2,000 a month, and buying a similar place would cost you $2,800 a month once you add in the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance we talked about earlier. That extra $800 a month. If you're renting, you're not losing that money. You could be investing it. And this is the part almost nobody talks about. If you take that $800 difference and put it into a simple index fund every single month, historically averaging around 7 to 10% returns a year. Over just 10 years, that could grow into well over $100,000. That's not a guess, that's just how compound growth works when you actually let it do its job. Meanwhile, the equity you build in a home grows a lot slower than people assume, especially in the early years of a mortgage, because most of your early payments go toward interest, not the actual loan balance. So while your friend is proudly showing off their new kitchen, your portfolio could quietly be outgrowing their home equity without you lifting a finger. Now, I'm not saying renting is always better. I'm saying the throwing money away argument is lazy thinking. It ignores opportunity cost, it ignores flexibility, and it ignores risk. If your job could relocate you, if you're not sure which city you want to settle in, or if you simply don't want thousands of dollars tied up in a house that needs a new roof someday, renting isn't a failure. It's a strategy. Think about it like this. Renting a car isn't throwing money away. If you only need it for a weekend trip, you're paying for exactly what you need, when you need it, without the long-term commitment. Housing can work the same way, especially in your 20s and 30s when life is still changing fast. So here's your practical takeaway. Stop asking, is renting a waste of money? And start asking, what could my money be doing if I wasn't buying right now? Because sometimes, the smartest financial move isn't the one that looks the most impressive on the outside. It's the one quietly building your wealth where nobody else can see it. All right, let's talk about a rule that could save you tens of thousands of dollars. And almost nobody follows it. It's called the 5-year rule. And honestly, if more people understood this before signing on the dotted line, we'd see a lot fewer financial regrets in this country. Here's the idea. Buying a home comes with massive upfront costs that most people completely forget about the moment they fall in love with the granite countertops. Closing costs alone. Things like loan fees, title insurance, inspections, and agent commissions typically run 2 to 5% of the purchase price. On a $300,000 home, that's $6,000 to $15,000 gone before you even move a single box in. And here's the part that really stings. When you eventually sell that home, you're going to pay agent commissions again, usually another 5 to 6%. So on that same $300,000 home, that's another $15,000 to $18,000 walking out the door. Add both ends together, and you could be looking at $20,000 to $30,000 in costs just for the privilege of buying and selling. Now here's the question nobody asks early enough. If you're only going to live in that home for 2 years, how is your home's value supposed to grow enough to cover $30,000 in fees? In most markets, it can't. You'd basically need the home to appreciate significantly just to break even, and that's before we even talk about market conditions being unpredictable. This is exactly why financial experts use the 5-year rule as a general guideline. If you're confident you'll be in that home for 5 years or more, buying starts to make a lot more sense, because you're giving the market time to work in your favor and giving yourself time to build real equity. But if there's a decent chance you'll relocate for a job, outgrow the space, or simply change your mind, renting protects you from paying thousands of dollars just to test out homeownership. Think about it like this. Would you sign a 5-year cell phone contract if you weren't sure you'd even like the phone? Probably not. Buying a home works the same way. It's a long-term commitment, and the shorter your timeline, the more those upfront and exit costs eat into any potential gain. So here's your practical takeaway. Before you even start browsing listings, ask yourself one honest question. Am I staying here for at least 5 years? If the answer is yes, buying becomes a much stronger option. If the answer is, I'm not sure, or probably not, renting might actually be the financially smarter move, even if it doesn't feel as exciting as getting your own front door. This single question filters out more bad home buying decisions than almost any other piece of advice out there. Now let's talk about the number that quietly controls your entire financial future. And most people don't even glance at it before signing their loan. Your interest rate. It sounds boring, I know. But stick with me, because this is one of those things that seems small on the surface and turns out to be massive once you actually run the numbers. Here's what most people don't realize. A mortgage isn't just a loan, it's a decades-long relationship with a number. And even a tiny shift in that number changes everything. Let's say you're buying a $300,000 home with a 30-year mortgage. At a 5% interest rate, you'd pay around $280,000 in interest over the life of the loan. Now bump that rate up to 7%. just 2 percentage points higher, and suddenly you're paying over $418,000 in interest. That's a difference of well over $100,000 for the exact same house. Let that sink in for a second. Same house, same neighborhood, same granite countertops. But depending on when you locked in your rate, you could be paying enough extra interest to buy an entirely second car, fund a kid's college semester, or retire a few years earlier. That's the power, or the danger, hiding inside 2 little percentage points. This is why timing and rate shopping actually matter so much. A lot of buyers get so caught up in finding the perfect house that they forget the interest rate is doing more heavy lifting on their long-term wealth than the house itself. Even shopping around between just 3 or 4 lenders can sometimes save you 1/4 or 0.5%. And over 30 years, that adds up to real, serious money. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine 2 friends buy identical homes on the same street for the exact same price. One of them shops around and locks in a lower rate. The other just goes with whatever their real estate agent's preferred lender offers without comparing anything. 10 years from now, one of them has paid down significantly more principal and has more equity, while the other is still mostly paying off interest. Same house, completely different financial outcome. So here's your practical takeaway. Before you get emotionally attached to a home, get pre-approved with a couple of different lenders and actually compare the rates and terms side by side. Don't just ask, "What's my monthly payment?" Ask, "How much total interest will I pay over the life of this loan?" That one question can reveal whether you're making a smart long-term decision or quietly signing up to hand over an extra house's worth of money to the bank. Because in this game, it's not just about buying a home. It's about buying it on the right terms. All right, let's talk about a concept that most people have never even heard of, but once you understand it, you'll never look at a down payment the same way again. It's called opportunity cost. And in plain English, it just means this. Every dollar you spend on one thing is a dollar that can no longer grow somewhere else. Here's how this plays out in real life. Let's say you've saved up $50,000 for a down payment. That feels like a huge accomplishment, and it is. But the moment you hand that $50,000 over for a house, it stops being an investment and starts being a chunk of your home's equity. Money that's now locked up in wood, brick, and drywall. It's not sitting in the stock market. It's not compounding. It's just there, tied to the value of one single asset in one single location. Now here's where it gets interesting. If instead you had taken that same $50,000 and invested it into the stock market, historically averaging around 7 to 10% returns a year, over 20 years that $50,000 could potentially grow into somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000, depending on market performance. That's the quiet, invisible cost of putting your money into a down payment instead of the market. It's not a loss you'll ever see on paper, but it's real. So does that mean buying a home is always the wrong move? Not at all. Here's the key question that actually matters. Will your home appreciate faster than that $50,000 would have grown if it had been invested elsewhere? In some markets, especially high growth areas, real estate can absolutely outperform. But in slower growth markets, your home might appreciate at 2 or 3% a year, while the stock market historically does more than double that. Think of it like this. Imagine you have one seed, you can only plant it in one place, plant it in the house, garden, and it grows at the pace that specific soil allows. Plant it in the investment garden instead, and it might grow completely differently. Neither choice is automatically wrong, but you should at least know what kind of soil you're planting in before you commit. This is exactly why some financially savvy buyers choose a smaller down payment on purpose, even when they can afford a bigger one, so they can keep more cash working for them in investments instead of locking it all into their home's equity. So here's your practical takeaway. Before you hand over your entire savings as a down payment, ask yourself this. Is real estate in my specific area growing fast enough to justify tying up this much cash? If you're not sure, it might be worth talking to a financial advisor before assuming that bigger down payment automatically equals smarter money move. Because sometimes, the best investment isn't the house. It's what your money could have been doing instead. Okay, last one, and honestly, this might be the most important point in the entire video. Because everything we've talked about so far, the hidden costs, the opportunity cost, the interest rates, all of it changes depending on one thing: where you actually live. Rent vs buy is not a national conversation. It's a zip code conversation, and treating it like a one-size-fits-all answer is where a lot of people go wrong. Here's what I mean. You'll see headlines and YouTube videos screaming, renting is better, or buying is better, like it's some universal truth. But those videos are usually built around national averages, and national averages don't live in your neighborhood. They don't pay your property taxes. They don't know your local rent prices. The real answer lives in something called the price-to-rent ratio, and honestly, this one number tells you more than almost anything else. Here's how it works. You take the median home price in your area and divide it by the annual rent for a similar property. So let's say homes in your area are going for $300,000, and a similar home rents for $18,000 a year. Divide those, and you get a ratio of about 16. Generally speaking, a ratio under 15 tends to favor buying, while a ratio over 20 tends to favor renting. Anything in between, that's your gray zone, where personal circumstances start to matter more than the math. Now here's a real-world example. In certain cities where home prices have skyrocketed but rent hasn't kept pace, that ratio can climb to 25, even 30. In a market like that, renting and investing the difference could genuinely build more wealth than buying. Meanwhile, in a smaller city or town where home prices are still reasonable compared to rent, that ratio might sit around 10 or 12, and buying could be the clear financial winner. This is exactly why your cousin in one city swears buying was the best decision of their life, while your coworker in a different city says renting saved them financially. They're not disagreeing because one of them is wrong. They're just living in completely different price-to-rent environments, and the math simply favors different choices in different places. Think about it like planting that same seed we talked about earlier, but now in different climates. Some climates are perfect for growth, others aren't, no matter how good the seed is. Housing markets work exactly the same way. The right decision literally depends on the environment you're planting in. So here's your practical takeaway. Before you make any decision, look up your specific area's price-to-rent ratio, or simply compare the cost of buying a home near you to renting a similar one. Don't base your decision on what worked for someone in a completely different city. Base it on the real numbers where you actually live. Because at the end of the day, the smartest financial decision isn't the one everyone else is making. It's the one that makes sense in your specific market. Look, there's no universal right answer here. There's only the right answer for you, backed by real numbers instead of pressure from family, friends, or fear of missing out. Whether you rent or buy, make it a decision, not a default. Run your numbers, know your timeline, and build wealth on your terms. Because that's how real financial freedom happens.